love it. Did I say I love it? Because I absolutely do. Thank you, Honda Acura, for making something like this. Thank you. What is up, Internet world, and welcome back to Accelerate. I'm Mike, he's Ian, and today we bring the Acura Integra Type S. So if you've been following along on my little journey here, you know that 4 vehicles I used to own got stolen. The first one was my beloved Integra Type R. It actually didn't get stolen from me, it got stolen from the guy that bought it from me. The second one was an E39 M5. That was a beloved car as well, 400 horsepower, 400 torque, I loved it, it got stolen. And then 2 motorcycles got stolen, some guys picked it up, threw it in the back of the van and drove off. But that championship white Integra Type R was a beautiful car. Now I've had a bunch of cars. At that point in my life, I had a Toyota MR2, I've had a whole bunch of Civics, I've had a whole bunch of S2000s, but that Integra Type R to me was like passion. I loved it. It was easy. I could just tune the exhaust, I could just change the camshafts, I could just change the valves, I could change a bunch of stuff on that thing, and I absolutely loved it. But I'm old now, so this is what I'm looking at. An Integra Type S. Not a Type R. If you want a Type R, you buy a Civic Type R because that's exactly what this car is. This is a Type R molded for adults. In the 2024 Acura Integra Type S, a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-banger that makes 320 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It is only available in a manual transmission, which is the best part. Okay, now all these numbers are going to be different from anybody who drives the car in a different fashion. I mean, everybody does drive slightly different. Obviously, clutch points, the weather, the temperature, the mood, the aggressiveness, that all makes a difference when you're driving manual transmission. Of course, yours behind a stick. So let's try to get this thing. I'm going to put Sport Plus. And traction control's on. We'll get some grip here. And let's see if we can get some good times, and go. There's the base run. Let's see what it does. 6.17. Okay, very slow. That's all me. Let's try to get a bit more jam out of this thing. All right, round 2. I hit the stability program. I got traction control reduced. So let's see what we can get out of this thing here. And okay, a bit better. 5.6. All right, 3rd run. Let's do this. Nope, 5.85. So, okay, so let's talk about this. Just off the line, it's just a tad bit slow. But it's not a tad bit slow when I'm rolling. When I just got a little bit of a roll, it's actually not bad at all. So let's get about 2,000 RPM, pin it, and see how it goes. Okay, so turbo. There we go. Once the turbo gets a little bit of spoolage, then we got a little bit of life. With all that said, let's have a bonus launch. A bonus launch with traction control completely off. I've got VSA on the dashboard, which means that there's no traction whatsoever, which I expect a little bit of bunny hop. I'm still stuck at 3,500 RPM worth of revving abilities, but we will roll. Let's go. .48. Wait, that was better. VSA, you made a bit of a difference. Now, we're reviewing 4 cars this week, and we had the C43, but I will say this is a better looking car. This is aggressive, this is youthful, this is fun, this is everything that you want. And this hopefully will not get an image of being young, bad boy, or even immature if you are a midlife guy going through that little phase in your life. You can buy one of these things. It is fun to drive. Sorry, I gotta talk about the outside. So if we start off at the top here, you have the hood. There's lots going on. You have a bulge. You have a vent right here in the middle. I like that touch. In black, you can't really notice it, but I do really like it. You have sharp angles in the hood facing forward to this Type S specific grille. It's all catapulting right to your face. And of course, underneath that, you have the Acura badge in white. It's actually silver, but the white reflection is getting me. You have these really large, sleek headlights with the DRL embedded from end to end inside the headlight. It's kind of a swish design, and then you can see Acura underneath. As far as the bumper goes, you'll see how they've molded Integra right on the front left-hand side of the bumper. This bumper is really, really aggressive. You have all functional vents here. Sorry, bro, 1 second. These vents are actually functional. They are wide, but they're more for the brakes. To the side of this Acura Integra. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but I can. The wide body on this is beautiful. It's 3 millimeters wider in terms of a track in comparison to the regular Integra, but look how wide this is. This is a legitimate fender into this wide body flare. It's one solid stamped piece. I absolutely love it. Then you have these gunmetal 19-inch wheels. They're 265/30/19s with the red brake Acura caliper in the back. Now, the reason I stuttered for a second is because this has the same sort of concept as the last 20 years of JDM product. And that is the diameter of the rim is actually smaller. Rim and tire is smaller. So basically from here to the top of the tire could be a little bit bigger. I've said this for years with Japanese product. It's like a smaller rim and tire for the size of the car. It should be a little bit bigger in my opinion. As we move back, you'll see a Type S badge. You'll see the mirror cap here. It's pretty generalized here, nothing specific about this mirror. Now in the Type S, you do get flared out side skirts. These are the most flared ones you can get, and it's available only in the Type S. Now if the key's in my pocket, I walk up to the car, I can unlock the car with the front door only. It's got 3 little lines here that indicates that I can walk up to it or leave it, slide my fingers there, and it will lock. Now it's only done in the front doors, not in the back doors. When you see the back here, again, more widening, but it's a little bit different. In the front, it's basically stamped in one piece, the front fender. In the back, it is not. It's basically two-way taped on the door and the quarter. However, the back bumper itself is a one piece. There's no plastic. I can't slide my nail. It's just not gripping. This is a one piece. This is 2 separate pieces. Makes kind of sense because they have to recalibrate their whole tooling just to have this extra widening. Now, most people don't talk about weight, but this Acura Integra Type S weighs 3,219 pounds. And it's important to note because weight is important when throwing the car around. And that's probably why this doesn't have a sunroof. Wait, subscribe. So on the back here, the first thing you really notice is these tri-exhausts. They're pretty much the exact same one from the Civic. They have removed a baffle, so it's a little bit louder, which makes sense because if you buy a luxury car and you want something sporty, you want to hear it a little bit more than something that's super sporty to attract the cops. Makes sense. Now moving up from the bumper, you'll see how the headlight and the taillight resemble each other quite significantly. They have sort of a backlit design and Acura right inside of them. Then you have the Type S badge, which is pretty much the same as all the old retro Type S badges. It's just like one piece there. And then you got the Integra embedded into the bumper. Again, retro. I absolutely love it. And then you have a pretty large rear spoiler. Not a huge fan of it, but you can't really see it in this black car. But that means absolutely nothing until you realize this is an Integra. And what an Integra resembles is this, a full-out hatchback. This is why people bought Integras back in the day. I've even seen guys with painting companies, instead of buying a truck, they've bought an Integra because the hatch is amazing. Car's fun to drive and you have a hatch. You can put all kinds of stuff in it. And this is why this car should sell very, very well for Honda. I mean Acura. Now, as far as room goes, you've got 35 inches of depth. As far as width, you have 41, and depth is probably important to you guys. Once I remove this panel, it might change a little bit, but I should have about 20 inches of height with this tailgate down. The other cool part about it is they have the speaker or the subwoofer embedded on the side. That's pretty typical. This is an ELS Studio 3D sound system, and you have little tweeters or speakers up here, a little bit of netting, and then when I remove this, hopefully I have a spare, and the answer is no, because we're in 2023. There's a tire kit. Front seat, the Integra Type S. My eyes totally get drawn to this, the shifter. It's small, the top of it is titanium feeling. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a reverse, of course, to the right and down. It's got the red engraving around it. I love it. It does have the authentic suede and red stitching in the shift boot. I love it. And then Type S around it. It really, really reminds me of my youth. Now, everything else is important to note? No. It's just the shifting, because that's why people want to buy this. It's not available in automatic, only in manual. You have different drive modes, and I really do appreciate that there is no eco. It's simply comfort, sport, and sport plus. 3 modes, and that's it. Everything else in here doesn't scream that it's a sports car. It's a really adultish Civic. So if you want something really sporty, you'd buy the Civic. If you wanted something a little bit more adultish, in this car, for sure, it feels that way. The seats are sporty. They're not super huggable. They're just sort of flat. They don't feel obviously as luxurious as a BMW or Mercedes product. They do feel sort of JDM in some senses, and it just feels fairly basic, if I'm saying or being honest. It says Type S embedded in the seat up here in the headrest, and there's suede on the bottom, so maybe you won't sweat as much. Now, it does have a 9-inch screen with some hard buttons on the left side with the volume knob and of course to skip tracks, and I do have some hard virtual buttons on the bottom, phone, FM, connect, Bluetooth, that kind of thing. And as far as the driver's display, when I put it in Sport Plus, I do have a red sort of surround around the tach and the speedometer. The steering wheel is pretty straightforward. It does say Type S on the bottom, but doesn't really give me anything more than just a leather steering wheel with some red stitching in it. It is heated, and of course I do have my volume on controls on the left and my cruise control settings on the right, where I can keep in my lane and set my distances, because of course this does have adaptive cruise control. Everything else is pretty straightforward here. It does have the ELS Studio 3D sound, so it is fairly decent. Again, it's supposed to be light, so it's not going to have that like thudness when I close the door, because again, it's only 3,219 pounds. As far as connectivity goes, down here, I do have a wireless charger. I do have a USB, a USB-C, and a cigarette lighter plug-in. I do have an individual button so I can set my individual modes, and it gives this cool little display right here. And in order to do so, I gotta hold the individual button down, and then I can customize it. I can customize my engine, steering, suspension, and then of course my gauges. Everything else is pretty straightforward. I wish they kind of got rid of this piano black because it's super dirty just while I sit here. It does have 2 cup holders, pretty straightforward stuff. And this armrest, when I lift it up, can probably hold 1 bottle of water. It's pretty far back. I wish it would be a little bit further out, or at least slidable, because it doesn't slide and my elbow has nowhere to rest when my hand is on the shifter. I'm sort of twisting, you see? If I'm sitting like this, my hand is here, my elbow can't sit down anywhere. They do have a little bit of a flare left and right, but it's just not enough, I don't think. Unless you have one and you think that it's good. Let me know. Back seat of the Integra Type S. Now, why this is important is because the Type S is only available as a 4-seater. Yep, 2 seats in the back, not 3 seats. But I want to show you how to put these seats down. It's full red interior with red stitching. There's a handle up top. When it folds down, it's fairly flat. Now going up, let me jump inside and explain to you my thoughts. It feels fairly economical back here. This seat is very flat. There's no bolstering in it really. It just feels like there's just too much leather. They should have broken it up a little bit with some suede like they did in the front. As far as an armrest, well, there isn't one. There's nowhere for me to put my arms. The cup holders are right here built into this bottom part of the bench. There is an airbag on the left and the right by the seat belt. And well, everything else feels fairly okay. There's no plugs whatsoever. There's no USBs, USB-Cs. There's nothing back here to plug anything else for connectivity. And before I stutter some more, I will tell you that as far as headroom goes, it's pretty tight back here. Like, watch my neck. My neck is where this headrest is, and I can't lift it up. It's sort of one piece, and my head will not hit this headrest. And I'm 5'9". I'm short. More corners. We need more corners. Oh, ooh. Oh my God. Turning and the car gets going straight. Steering is turned, but the car's good though. Good. Love it. Love it. Adrenaline and excitement. I just love cars you have to work that you can throw around and have fun with. And this is it. This is what you are, Integra. It's not as aggressive as the Hondas from back in the day, but it gives you that feeling of what it was like. And maybe if you want to save lots of money, you can buy an old generation VTEC just to have some fun. You're not going to go very fast, but it'll sound cool. You'll have fun while you're doing it. And that's what it's about. So it gives you a more connected feeling with the car. It's more of a purist car versus, like, take for example the Mercedes-Benz AMG C43. That was like derived from Formula One and all that fun stuff, but it doesn't feel like this. This feels more derived. This is what the history of Honda is about. Now again, this is a Type S, not a Type R, so it's not going to give you that. It's not going to be as loud as a Civic Type R. Now they have removed one baffle from the back, so it is actually technically louder, but in theory, this is actually not louder because it's more insulated than that Civic. So inside you can't exactly hear it, but outside you will hear that it is louder than the Civic. And speaking of this exhaust, it does backfire. Listen. Let's talk about how the gating of the shifter works. So if I take this, for example, as the gates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, most shifters are right in the center, but not this Acura. It's actually a little bit to the left. So if I want to go into gear, first gear, for example, it's very easy. I just go up a little bit and then up into first. And if I want to go to 6, I actually have to reach all the way over to give you some perspective of exactly where this shifter is. It's not in the center, it's more to the left, so it makes it easier to get into first gear with this differential in the front. Nostalgia, baby. It does help to have these tires for sure, there's no doubt. And it does rev match automatically. It turbocharged, so there's a little bit of a delay, like a little bit of a delay, but not complaining because the suspension is smooth and firm. So let's talk about suspension and steering. Steering is very direct. It feels solid when I'm holding it. Left and right, it goes when I point. It's completely front wheel drive. There's no all-wheel drive component to the Acura Integra Type S. And as far as suspension, it's very streetable. It's comfortable. It's not stiff whatsoever. Like, whatsoever, it's not stiff. It's just got a perfect amount of rebound when I do hit bumps. It's not bouncy. I'm not jumping around. It's definitely more family related, I think. On the turn here and on throttle. Good. So every week we pretty much take the exact same turns with every car we have. And we have the C43 this week, like I talked about, and that car around corners is really, really good because of the weight and of course has the German engineering behind it. This is obviously lighter at 3,219 pounds, but it does hold its own and it's more exciting around the corners. Just working this engine up to the 320 horsepower that it makes. Does it feel like it has 310 horsepower? Definitely not down low. I have to work it up. Like, listen, this is 2,000 RPM. Let me tell you, okay, I'm 3,000 RPM because I got a 7,000 RPM red line. At 3,000 RPM, does this feel like 310 pound-feet of torque? 1, 2, 3, go. So at 5,000 RPM, I feel like I'm making that 310 pound-feet of torque, and then probably at 6,000 RPM, you get 320 horsepower. It doesn't feel like that at all. I feel like numbers are misguided when they throw things out there. This definitely feels like it has 160 pound-feet of torque at like 3,000 RPM. I have to kind of get up into the power band for this thing to actually move. Scoot, scoot. Of course, it has all the lane departure warning, and if I do kind of creep to that line, it does give me this shake, 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 which I don't really like. I prefer to just move me back in. The shake, like, why even shake? If you have the ability to shake, why not just move me in, you know? However, that's not the reason why anybody would buy this car. They would buy it for this, the excitement, the thrill of the 6-speed. And also, the greatest part about it, like I talked right in the beginning, is that you cannot buy this car in automatic. It only comes in stick. It only comes in stick. Just that alone is key, because then you see somebody else with one, you know that they drive a stick. And they know that you drive a stick. And all of a sudden you're buddies, like the motorcycle gang. We just wave our hands outside the door. We know, we respect each other. So here's my other deal with this thing, is that I would 100% buy this car over the Civic Type R because the Civic Type R is heat scored to the 10th power. Not to mention insurance is going to be way more money than this. So you get this, you have the looks because you have the wide body, which is in my opinion beautiful in black, and you have lower insurance, and the cops ain't going to pull you over as much because this is not a heat score. Heat score less. Thank you, Honda Acura, for making this car. This is a great car, a great car. I don't even want to call it car of the year yet, but man, it's definitely up there for me. I just love it. Hopefully, dealers don't charge a crazy amount of dealer markup to buy one of these things. That's what I am worried about, to be honest, because it is a great car. It's the perfect car for anybody over 30 that still has that nostalgia about stick, wants to have some fun, has space, great motor, boom, looks great. I don't know what else to say. I love you. Thanks for making it. We'll catch you on the next one.